This tutorial is about how to eliminate bad data in Excel. The gold standard for professional data entry is to enter data not once, but twice. The two data sets are then compared, and differences are examined and corrections can be made. We don't want to use or enter garbage data in your data sets. This good practice technique will help you enter your data with fewer errors. In fact, in 1966, an IBM programmer, Wilf, coined a term, garbage in, garbage out. That is, if your data are incorrect to begin with, your results are going to always be incorrect. And you want to save yourself the time and headaches that involves. So don't let it happen to you. So how can you use double data entry in Excel? Although there are programs designed for data entry, Excel provides a data analyst a quick and cheap alternative. So make it a habit to use Excel to double check your data for accuracy. All right, let's look at how to do this. To use Excel double data entry methods, create two identical blank data spreadsheets with only the labels at the top of the columns, as shown here. You'll see Sheet 1 and Sheet 2, and they're identical so far. Ideally, you'll have two data entry persons. Each will enter the data separately in the spreadsheets. If it's impossible to use two different people, at least enter the data at two different sessions yourself. Enter identical data from forms. So data records should be entered twice in the same order using an ID field to guarantee they are in the right order. An example spreadsheet below, Sheet 1, has the data entered as shown here. So you'll notice it has a column called ID, as well as several other columns containing the data. For this example, I created a second data sheet called Sheet 2. Notice that there are some typos in Sheet 2. It may not be obvious just looking at this one, but if you compare the first one and the second one, you'll quickly see that there are some typos in it. Now, realistically, your two sheets might have hundreds or thousands of data entry items in them, and so it would be hard to see it by just examining with your eye. And so this technique is going to allow you to quickly find those differences using Excel. Our goal is to create identical spreadsheets. And when we do that, then we have a good belief that the data in Sheet 1 and Sheet 2, if they're identical, then the data is probably pretty accurate. Once the data are entered into both spreadsheets, the procedure described here can be used to compare the two spreadsheets for differences. In this example, the spreadsheets to compare are Sheet 1 and Sheet 2. You can use any names you want. Our goal is to compare the two spreadsheets, Sheet 1 and Sheet 2, using something called Sheet 3. And Sheet 3 is a worksheet that will contain the comparison and highlight any differences or errors in the two sheets, Sheet 1 and Sheet 2. Here's a preview of what Sheet 3 is about to look like when we do that comparison. You'll notice that it's filled with a bunch of zeros and then some other information, and that other information indicates differences between the two spreadsheets. Now, with this small spreadsheet, you could probably do this just by eyeballing it, but if you have thousands or even hundreds of data entries, using this technique will save you a lot of time. To create Sheet 3, do this. First, copy the labels, row 1, from Sheet 1 and enter it or paste it into Sheet 3. In Sheet 3, then place your cursor in cell A2 and carefully enter the following Excel formula. Now this formula is in the comments, so you can actually just cut and paste it. And then to create the comparison for the complete Sheet 3, do this. First, copy the Excel formula into all cells to compare all the data from both worksheets, from A2 to F5. You can do this by this simple method. Step 1, we've already done. Enter the formula into A2. Then step 2, with your cursor in A2, press CTRL+C to copy it. And then step 3, highlight the cells from A2 to F5 and press CTRL+V or paste. That will paste the formula into all of the cells. Here's a quick explanation of this formula. Briefly, the formula uses Excel's if statement to compare the entry from the first spreadsheet to the entry in the second spreadsheet for an exact match. If the match is exact, the if statement puts a 0 in the resulting cell. If the two cells are not matched, it puts this information where you have information from sheet 1, a slash, and then information from sheet 2. And it puts that information in the cell to indicate that there was a difference. The resulting sheet 3 information is as follows. Notice the cells in this sheet show the difference or comparison spreadsheet, sheet 3, shows cells containing 0 to indicate a match from sheet 1 and sheet 2, which is good. If the values between the two spreadsheets don't match, the cell displays data values from the two spreadsheets, so the differences are apparent. So we see an example here. In A3, information does not match from sheet 1 to sheet 2, and so we have this 24/23. However, in A7, the data from sheet 1 and sheet 2 do match, and so it puts a 0 there. A little more clarification. Let's look specifically at how these comparisons work. So in cell B5, we have a 32/23. What that means is that in cell in sheet 1, the data entered there was a 32, but in sheet 2 it was a 23. Somehow the data got transposed, and so it's different. And then in D4 we see these numbers. Now what are those? Those are actually dates. Excel stores dates as integers. So we see the 33/429 and 33/430 indicates that two dates entered here were different. In fact, we can interpret that, or Excel interprets that, as July 10th, 1974 in sheet 1 and July 11, 1974 in sheet 2. So we can see that we have differences there, a one-day difference. Now we use that information from the sheet 3 to go back and correct the information in either sheet 1 or sheet 2 or both. So we use that information in the different spreadsheet to make corrections. And the way you do that is you or an arbitrator must decide which of the data entries are correct. It could be that the data in sheet 1 is correct or the data in sheet 2 is correct. Sometimes you have to go back to the original documents to determine which of those two are correct. Nevertheless, once the data is corrected, all the cells in the comparison sheet will display 0. Once you get to this point, then you feel good that the data in sheet 1 and sheet 2 match. Now, once your data is verified like this, you should have a data set with an improved level of accuracy. This technique will, of course, not pick up errors that were written down on the original documents, or if the same error in data entry was made in both spreadsheets. However, it gives you a good way to make sure that you have a higher level of accuracy than just entering data into one spreadsheet. You can find further information on this in more detail in the paper shown below from 2007 called Preparing Data for Analysis Using Microsoft Excel from the Journal of Investigative Medicine. Thanks for watching. Please see my other Excel tutorials for more information and hopefully an easy information about how to use Excel techniques in your data entry and data analysis. If this information was helpful for you, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thanks.